The president was hit in the head.
I'm woven into a lot of people's conspiracy theories.
I think there's certain soft spots where she's lying.
You actually might find one of the real keys to the Kennedy case.
Ruth and Michael Payne are do-gooders whom nobody would have ever heard of if it hadn't been for the accident that one of the people they helped out in life was Harvey Oswald.
One of the officers asked if he had any guns, and I said no.
It was a coup. You can't close the circle without the Paynes.
Who is likely to have wanted Kennedy dead? You'd have to say the CIA, but perhaps also the military as well.
It's not mom apple pie in America to think things like that.
A little poll here. How many of you people think there was a conspiracy?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
The Warren Commission withheld mountains of evidence from the public.
Everything I saw pointed to him and him alone.
She's been a disinformation agent.
The veneer has come off Ruth and Michael Payne. I mean, they're just not credible anymore.
All right. We played that on Friday. This is a partial intro to the great documentary by our guest today, Max Good, who is working on some technical connectivity issues, but we'll have him here momentarily. There's a link in the description, though, to where you can go to his website, and I'd recommend going there because you can actually order the physical copy of the video from his site, or you can choose to, stream it somewhere if you want. All the links are on his site, and it's good for you to go there to give him credit. Now, before I go too deep into this, I wanted everybody to please check something for me. And I just found out about this today, but we've been noticing real softness and weirdness with the amount of views and things on videos. And it turns out YouTube has something that they've been turning on with some people called restricted mode.
Oh.
And let me show you what this is about. So if you look right here at our videos, I hit the live tab and you can see today's video, Friday's, last Tuesday, on down the line, right? If I go here and I turn on restricted mode, and you can see it right here, it's off. But if I turn that on, watch what happens to our videos. Our newest video is 2 months ago. Then 4 months ago. 4 months ago.
Interesting.
So if everyone can, please check and make sure that you do not have restricted mode turned on. It not only is going to affect our videos, but it will affect many other channels you might be watching.
Wow,
And
what a sneaky device. What is it for? For your children?
I don't know, and we don't have anything that is untoward or bad for kids or anything like that. But I guess it's just to push things out to where if it's slightly controversial, imagine that we're being controversial. So no wonder we haven't been hit with the ban hammer as much frequently. They just have a whole mode.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's interesting. These sneaky rats.
Definitely.
Well, go ahead.
What is it restricting? Well, a bunch of our shows. I literally just found out about it today, and it's affecting a lot of people. So please, everybody, check that setting out. It is it could be affecting things. Gonna bring on Max, and here we go. Max, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Everything working now?
I see you. I hear you. Everything's looking good. And I took the opportunity to point out where YouTube is up to their chicanery as usual. Good times.
Yeah, I remember what it was like, 20 years ago when you searched for something, you found what you were looking for, and it was not so censored.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah.
When it was funny, and everybody had fun with YouTube, and it was joyful. Well, so we'll have to be careful, though. It's YouTube. We can't say things like, we have to use self-deletion and other things like that. We have to dance around the language as if we're drug dealers trying to hide our product from the police. it is a wonderful time. So, subject of the day, Ruth Paine ended her run.
Yeah, we knew it was coming. I heard through the grapevine that she had a stroke. That was maybe a year or two ago. And I think it was pretty serious. So I had a feeling she might be passing on one of these days. So I wasn't surprised.
Have you communicated with her at all since the documentary, or much?
Just once since the documentary came out. I actually filmed a little conversation between me and her with the producers of Four Died Trying. That's a documentary about 4 of the major assassinations that's in the works. I know the first episode of it is already out, but they set up a meeting with me and Ruth 2-3 years ago, and we had a conversation.
And she said how much she loved the documentary and great job, and thank you very much.
Yeah, what was her take on it, Max?
Well, I think she respected that it was well done. She didn't seem upset, but she wasn't happy that the film gave a voice to the people who suspect her and people who see a conspiracy. So, yeah, she was always civil. She never got flustered. She held her own. It's a very strong woman.
The husband passed away in 2018, if I remember correctly, right? He was starting to get Alzheimer's, Max. And did she ever speak about her husband afterwards, or?
She didn't speak about Michael much.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I wasn't in much contact with her during those years. Probably around 2019, she made it clear she didn't like the direction that my film was going in.
Oh.
She had seen a trailer that came out, and she wasn't interested in doing any more filming with me, although she was still fairly friendly.
How do you deal with that? I mean, do you just grab as much footage as you can, period, before you put any trailers out or anything else, so that way you have enough to go through before they get an idea of any editorial direction?
Yeah, that would be the smart way to do it. Get all the footage you need. If you're worried you might lose access to any of your characters, you got to get the footage first and then release your project. I mean, Ruth had some quote about the film. It was well done, but powerfully awful, or something she said about
that should go on the box. Put that on the box.
Yeah, it was a good quote. I'd be happy to put that on the DVD.
Now, is the edit that's out there now the one that's on? It's on Amazon Prime, and I urge people to buy the DVD for reasons that we've discussed on this show many times. But it is available on Prime. Is that the same cut as your hard copy DVD, Max?
It should be. There's also a shorter version that's been on TV, mostly in Europe. But I recommend people watch the full version. The TV one is it's only 52 minutes or something, and it leaves out a lot of good stuff. So yeah, you should be watching the 100-minute version that has all the details. And even in that 100 minutes, I could not cover all the details of Ruth Payne's story and all the suspicions. I mean, there are plenty of important things I had to cut out just in the interest of time.
Well, Mark is asking,
was there a scene? The reason I mentioned it, I remember a scene where she is banging pots and pans while you were interviewing Michael.
Yeah, that interview was in the cafeteria of their retirement home. So I think it's actually some of the workers washing dishes. I don't think it's Ruth. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I visually saw her, but okay, maybe imagination. The workers, right? Who is Fabian Defoe III?
Oh, when I saw that name, I was so intrigued.
Thank you.
I had never heard of Fabian Defoe III.
Either have I, bro.
He was listed in one of these obituaries of Ruth. I forget which one, but they reached out to him. It sounds like he was Ruth's boyfriend for almost 20 years in St. Petersburg, Florida, where she lived for a long time.
Yeah.
But
just for the people at home, this was when she was a principal at a school, or she was the school psychologist in Florida.
Yeah, she may have been getting her master's degree in school psychology in Florida at some point during that time, and I think working in schools. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you think this guy was? You think he was her lover in the Florida era?
I believe so. She also had a boyfriend in at least one that I know about in her friend's house era, which was something like 2006 until her death.
Well, this is when she was a principal at a Quaker school in Philly, I presume. Is that era, Max?
No, friend's house was the retirement home.
Oh, the retirement home. I'm sorry.
Until she died.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, somebody should talk to this guy, see if he has any insights into her. He's got an interesting name. Maybe he's got an interesting story.
If we only knew a filmmaker.
Fabian Defoe III, if you're listening, please contact America's Untold Stories for your incredible multi-decade relationship to Ruth Avery Payne, September 3rd, 1932 to August 31st, 2025.
Is it Avery or Hyde? I got confused. Sorry.
It's Ruth Hyde Payne.
Ruth Avery Hyde Payne, right? No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you want to talk about now? The film is out there. What about the kids, Max? Chris has changed his name now, right, to Chris Panyem or something. What is the deal with Chris? He's still up at that Green Valley Village commune up in Sonoma County. He was quoted in a bunch of obituaries talking about his mother.
Yeah, he's quoted in most of the obits, along with Thomas Mallon and a couple other people. But yeah, the kids were always intriguing to me. I never got a chance to talk to Chris Payne or Chris Panem.
Panem now, yeah.
That's
Panem.
how I think you pronounce it.
I think so. Yeah.
He lived in that area near Santa Rosa, Sebastopol. It's I think he was sort of into some new age hippie stuff up there. They were trying to start some sort of commune or intentional community. But all I ever heard about him was he was mad about my film. He was mad about the trailer when it came out. And I tried to reach out to him. He never responded. The daughter, though, I did speak to on the phone years and years ago, and she kind of poo-pooed all the conspiracy theories and said that this story about her having some falling out with her mom over the assassination was false. So, and that's kind of what you get from the quotes in all the obits. They're just laughing off the conspiracy theories.
Well, you're
showing up.
Posner's all of a sudden back in.
Yeah. Ruth did say that her son at some point, probably, decades ago, he came across something about the assassination. He heard something on the radio and started to think that maybe it was a conspiracy, and she had to set him straight. So I always thought, well, maybe somebody could reach out to him and say, hey, look, you want to take a look at this?
Oh, boy, I would love to. I mean, I'd love to go up there. Green Valley Village is like some upscale commune, as you said. It's 35 adults the last time I looked, some children, and it's kind of like an upscale commune, from almost like a gated community in a lot of ways. But he said recently, the reason I'm mentioning him is that his mother flat out believes in reincarnation. And I wanted to get your take on whether she'll be back, whether she spoke to you about reincarnation. What do you feel about reincarnation? Are we looking at a second visit by Ruth Paine in some other form, Max?
Yeah, I think she'll be back in some form or another.
Okay.
She's a very powerful being. I know. Yeah, she was also into some new agey stuff.
Yeah.
Which, she never got into detail about it, but I think maybe into astrology.
Yeah.
I think there might have been some power with the necklaces she wore when I interviewed her. I think they may have had some sort of magical power, or that was their purpose.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't contradict her Quakerness?
I don't know. I think the Quakers are pretty open in terms of allowing different beliefs. Yeah.
Well, regarding the Quakers, I wanted to ask you something, because I've been contacted by people with Congressman Luna who are now asking for various items, like a wish list. And I put down Ruth Payne's, among other things, Ruth Payne's Michael's tax returns. Now, I've come to understand that many times they simply, in an anti-militaristic Quaker tradition, refused to pay their taxes and were audited on numerous occasions by the IRS. I don't know if you've ever heard anything about their taxes, Max.
Yeah, so Ruth was involved with the National War Tax Resistance Coordinating Committee. She was, a serious member of that group, and organized and promoted it and did interviews about it. So yeah, I'm not surprised that there might have been some attention and some auditing on her tax returns. But of course, the question is about the tax returns that are part of the JFK Records Act, that from that period, early 60s, and they are probably not going to be released even now that she's dead, because of privacy reasons.
Why is that? I'm curious, because now she's gone, Michael's gone. What privacy is there? We just want to know one thing: who was paying them? What was the payroll?
Yeah, I believe the only way you'd get them would be if through some FOIA request where they would, say it was really in the public interest. But I think there are privacy issues with releasing somebody's tax returns. Yeah.
Now, she was also a member of Pro-Nica, as I recall, that religious group that was Nicaraguan Sandinista, right? If I vaguely remember, Max.
Yeah, she was part of this group, Pro-Nica. I think it was mostly Quaker run. During that time, she lived in Florida, and they were doing charity work, going down to Nicaragua, supposedly, helping the Sandinistas, helping the people during all the strife of the Iran-Contra situation. And of course, there are suspicions about Ruth. Maybe she was down there in intelligence capacity, informing on these subversive Quakers who were, helping the Sandinistas, or maybe she was. People have suspected that she was possibly, on the other side of that conflict. Yeah.
I don't know if this is in your movie. I think it might have been that she was booted out of Nicaragua by people who suspected her of working for the intel organizations, and she had a photographer with her at the time. Is that's in your film, right?
Yes, there is a scene about her time in Nicaragua, and yeah, they were highly suspicious of her. The big question is whether that was before they knew about her connection to the assassination or after. From the people I've talked to, it was actually before. They already were suspicious with how she was taking notes all the time and talking to certain people, and she knew somebody in the U.S., the embassy down there. She offered to go in and talk to the people in the embassy on behalf of the group. And yeah, they kind of told her there. So many people were suspicious that they sent her away to some, other like resort or something to get her away from the main group.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me ask something. Getting up just on the Quaker thing. I don't know if this is in your film or not. It might have been in the Warren Commission testimony where she says it's a Quaker tradition not to say the word Mr. Do you know anything about that? And then she says it anyway in the testimony.
I don't know about that one.
Okay.
I do know that the Quakers don't like to swear an oath of honesty because for them that's a conflict, saying that they're not honest all the time. So when she gave her testimony, she actually does not do that oath, and that the judge says something like, well, you have previously confirmed that you are honest or something.
Is Max Holland also a Quaker, Max?
I know he had done some work with the Quakers. I'm not sure if he is a Quaker himself.
Yeah.
He went to the same college as Ruth, which is
Antioch.
pretty intriguing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Antioch, are her papers at Antioch?
No, her papers are stored at Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And you can see, I went there in person, and they just gave me the box, and in there are some of the original letters that supposedly Oswald wrote, and Ruth's copies of this Costin letter that's supposedly Oswald wrote to the Soviet embassy.
Well, let's get into that for a second. I was going to ask you about that. And first, are the Marina Oswald quote unquote Ruth Payne love letters in there?
Yeah, all that correspondence with Marina is in there. A lot of it's going to be in Russian, so you're not going to be able to read it unless you know Russian. Right.
Now, one of the things I've read is that she vetted journalists by whether or not they believed Oswald was involved in the Walker assassination. Did she lay that on you, Max?
She did. That's her standard kind of gatekeeping question where she asks, well, what do you know about the Walker shooting, or what do you think about it? So, I mean, I thought it was more about seeing that you were informed enough that you knew about the Walker shooting, and you had at least studied the assassination to that level. So I guess, I passed her test, and she talked to me, but she talked to all people on all sides of this. She talked to David Talbot. She talked to, Bill Simpich. She talked to all kinds of people, and AJ Weberman.
AJ Weberman got in there. Well, that's an open door.
Yeah, he sent me his original cassette tapes.
Wow.
Recordings of his interviews with the Paynes, like back, 20, 30 years ago.
Wow. Go Weberman.
Yeah.
Was that helpful for your research and what to ask her or not ask her or to follow up on his cassette recordings?
Yeah, it was fascinating. He's definitely he's up on this the Minox camera, and then the question of whether there were lesbian films taken out of the house. I've never seen a clear confirmation that that's true. So I've left that one alone. It just
right. I think it comes from Buddy Walters, the detective that searched her home, and she admits that they took her projector. And I think Michael Payne attempted to. They asked him if they were his films, and he said no. And it was also part of the mysterious missing boxes that you cover fairly well in your film. I think that all of that stuff gets lumped together somehow, Max. The missing index cards, the missing boxes, the guy who shows up with the one box. Who is that guy with his sketchy intelligence background as a security agent? Maybe you could tell us a little bit. He takes out a sign and he shows the award that he got.
Yeah, you're talking about Joe Alisi. Who became a very good friend of Ruth Paine in her later years, and actually escorted her to Dallas, I think 3 times over the years, to when she was giving talks for the anniversaries there. He was very open and friendly with me, but at some point he turned on me, and now he's all over, my Facebook page, telling me how bad I am and how innocent Ruth is, and anybody's questioning her is just some terrible person. So yeah, he's an intriguing guy. He
seemed like a handler. I don't want to be that bold, but he seemed like a guy on a mission, Max.
People have speculated that that might be a role he played. Yeah, he worked for the Defense Investigative Agency, and he holds up this placard he used to have on his desk with the seal, and he says he used to work in security clearances, helping, verifying people for security clearances.
Yeah, that's a pretty deep statey kind of job. If you're the guy who is the gatekeeper of letting people into the DIA, you have to be fairly trustworthy to get into that position. But getting back to the letters for a second, I wanted to ask you about the typewritten letter that she oversees Oswald writing on her typewriter to the embassy, the Soviet embassy in D.C. And she's indignant about the fact that he's using her typewriter. She then finds the letter on her desk and closes the top of her desk, and then somehow has a version of the same letter that she has a draft of. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, it's a very convoluted story, and I think this is probably one of the most important pieces to understand about Ruth Paine, because by her own admission, by the standing official story, she was informing on Oswald to the FBI. That's the official story, although you won't hear many people put it that way. The fact is that the FBI came and talked to her at the house about Oswald, and then she takes this letter that Oswald's writing, makes multiple copies of it, and then plans to give it to the FBI. That's her story.
Yeah.
And then the assassination happens. This is just, weeks before the assassination. Then the assassination happens, and the police come to search the house, and she doesn't give the police this letter. She waits until the next day when the FBI comes to give them the letter.
Yeah. Now, she had interactions with the FBI in October, as I understand it.
Yeah, that's correct.
So this letter, this is the only time that Oswald wrote a typewritten letter, because why he needed a typewriter to write a letter, which he's always written by hand before, always was a red flag for me.
Yeah, supposedly the authorities couldn't find a single other letter that was written on this typewriter besides Oswald's letter.
Okay.
Also, the story is that she got rid of that typewriter and donated it to people of Nicaragua on one of these pro-Nica sojourns down there. So if anybody has that typewriter, that would be
please
an amazing thing.
We need your help in Nicaragua, please.
But people have done work on the typewriter and the questions over it. But the whole thing is so convoluted. It's strange credulity, and it just feels like something doesn't smell right here.
It's convoluted. You're right. I mean, she says that she's got this draft on her desk. She closes the top of her desk. She says he's okay. Just from her angle, she goes to look over his shoulder as he's typewriting it, and he covers the typewriting so she can't see what he's writing. He then places the letter on her desk so she can read it at her leisure, I guess, and she covers the top of her desk and then somehow makes a copy of that for reasons that I never understood and gives that to the FBI.
Yeah, and this story requires that Ruth, the virtuous Quaker, who's supposed to be honest about every single thing, for her entire life, steals Oswald's letter. There's no other way to really put it. So, yeah.
Just for the people at home, the letter, it would ensure a paper trail of him trying to escape back to the Soviet Union with his wife for reasons that we would not know unless he was an assassin trying to flee. The same with Mexico City, which Ruth will come up with some tchotchkes that are in a drawer somewhere, right, Max? In her
Wasn't
house.
there a letter in a book, or am I misremembering?
Well, we're going to get to that. That's a separate issue I'm going to get to. But I wanted to just move on to the letter on about Walker. The Walker letter that she is really forceful about is that Oswald wrote this letter. It ends up in a cookbook that she somehow gets to the Secret Service, Max, when Marina is already under police protection at that time. And I think that's when the Secret Service tells her to stay away from Ruth Payne, not to be connected with Payne. She was sympathizing with the CIA. That's at the same time with the Walker letter in the book, Max, right?
I believe so. I don't know exactly when the Secret Service told Marina that, but I think we can assume that it was during that time. They had her sequestered at the Six Flags Motel for 8 weeks or something.
Right.
She was basically under house arrest with the authorities, and they were able to lean on her in whatever way they wanted, threaten her with deportation. And get her to possibly, confirm the story they wanted. That's the Walker note. Another famous piece of evidence that's Ruth Payne is right in the middle of, along with the Costin letter, which we were talking about. And these are so central. The Costin letter, like you said, it ties Oswald to the communists. He's supposedly, talking about this KGB guy working in the embassy in Mexico City, Kostikov or Kostin.
Well, let me just go. We're going to get to that in a second. Let me just exhaust the Walker letter for the chronological information here.
Sure.
The Walker letter for people at home, supposedly when Lee Harvey Oswald comes back from his failed 30-foot assassination attempt on General Edwin A. Walker, an attempt that witnesses have said there were two men there, drove away in a car. There's a letter that appears from Oswald to Marina on about what to do if he is arrested, how to pay the gas, how to pay the rent, whatever. That doesn't appear until it's in a cookbook that Ruth Payne is desperately, or a child raising book, is desperately trying to get to her in the motel that Max was describing at Six Flags. That particular letter, do you believe, and this is where I was going with the question, did Ruth Payne write the Walker note?
I don't know. I can't speculate on that. She did know Russian. She could write in Russian. There have been, various handwriting analyses of these things, but as anybody who's followed that supposed science knows, it's not Yeah, it's very sketchy.
There's
you
no
can get
Oswald.
an expert. You can get an expert to say almost anything you want.
There's no regardless of that. There's no Oswald fingerprints on there on that letter, and there were fingerprints of other people, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's according to Jim DiEugenio in the film talks about that. So that Walker shooting was such a key piece for framing Oswald as an assassin. If he tried to kill Walker, earlier that year, then obviousyou he killed JFK. It all makes sense. He's
what was his motive for killing or trying to kill Walker? Can you help me with that?
Well, they say that Oswald, the communist, they claim he was a left-wing communist, that he would be interested in killing Walker because Walker was an extreme right-wing, racist kind of John Birch Society guy. He was on the opposite side of the political spectrum, and a lot of people saw him as a danger. He's actually one of the inspirations for the general in 7 Days in May, the film that everybody should see about kind of a fascist, a military takeover in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Politically it makes sense for Oswald to take a shot at Walker.
Now, keep in mind, the Walker shooting, the only reason we know about the Walker shooting is Walker himself on November 23rd calling the Bavarian newspaper to say that he believes that Oswald tried to assassinate him. I mean, that's the ground zero of the story as far back as anyone could trace it. And it's fairly accurately traced to this conservative right-wing newspaper in southern Germany. And from there, it goes out to the rest of the world.
Yeah, in fact, Michael Paine was one of the first people to bring up Oswald as a suspect in the Walker shooting in one of his interviews after the assassination.
Right, that's right. Yeah. Well, Michael Paine flip-flopped a couple of times on Lee Harvey Oswald's motivation and politics and aggressiveness or seeking fame. Hasn't he altered his statements over the years while he was alive, Max?
Yeah, Michael Paine has said some interesting things. Back in 1993, he revealed, or he said that he had actually seen one of these photos of Oswald with the guns. Oswald had shown it to him back then.
Oh, yeah, right.
He had never mentioned that in all the testimony, all the interviews he had ever done. And he, out of the blue, he brings this up. And it threw a little wrench in the story. People weren't sure if he was making it up or what. But the story was that the Paines were kind of pacifist type people, and they wouldn't have been happy if they knew Oswald was, had these weapons.
Well, apparently she didn't even know it was in her car. When she came back from, the island off the coast of Massachusetts to visit her sister in D.C., who she's befuddled. You really boxed her in there about her sister, Max, when you're asking her. This is a woman who, in the phone book in the CIA directory, is listed at that time as a psychologist. She really stammered when you asked her about her sister, Max.
Yeah, that's one of those points where you can tell she really doesn't want to talk about it or verify it. I asked her about that in 2 different interviews, and the first time she just kind of laughed it off, didn't confirm anything. Said, "Oh, maybe she worked for an outfit," was the term she used.
Outfit, yes, that was awkward.
But then, in the final interview, I did confront her with the actual documents and say, what's up with this here? Your sister, it appears your sister was working for the CIA. And again, she just sort of deflected it, and minimized it. But there is some point where I say, do you see why people take all these connections as being suspicious? And she admits, she just says, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, you also brought up you also brought up the familial lines that the intelligence agencies use, and that befuddled her as well, Max.
Yeah.
That they keep it within families, for security and trust reasons, I imagine.
Yeah. I think it's well known, it's pretty established that oftentimes people in the intelligence community, like multiple members of a family, could be recruited because they're already in a kind of a cell, a trusting cell of people, and then you can at least you can be honest with your family members in some ways, or you understand when they have to keep secrets.
Well, and we see that with the Miorettes also, with Dorothy, and we see it with Oswald's first cousin. The Miorettes have the fingerprints of intelligence all over them as well. But Michael's family goes all the way back to, talking about bloodlines going far back. It goes back to the Declaration of Independence, right, Max?
Yeah. His ancestor, Robert Treat Paine, signed the Declaration of Independence. And Michael Paine has, a very distinguished lineage with the Cabots, Paines, Emersons, Forbes.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
he's a real blue blood type of guy.
She gets nervous about the monetary angle to it too. You brought that up. Why would you be living at such a low level when clearly you're going to this island of millionaires? You're a Forbes. You're married into this money, and she also was trying to poo-poo the fact that Dullus's mistress was related, socially connected to Michael's mother.
Yeah. So the Paines come from money.
Yeah.
And Michael did have a large trust fund, hundreds of thousands of dollars back in the early 60s, when I think their house cost $5,000 in Irving. And you wonder why this couple.
They have multiple houses in Irving, if I understand correctly.
Maybe that's correct. I know they moved into a different house post-assassination, maybe a nicer house. But
her response to your question was really interesting. She seemed a little bit confused by the question. Or acted confused. I take that back. Didn't seem confused. She was minimizing it, Max.
Sure. It was incongruous that they were living in this tiny 2-bedroom house in a very, working class area, Irving, Texas. And with all these kids and Marina in there, and yet they had tons of money in the bank.
Yeah, she doesn't really address it. She calls it an account. I think you referenced either the word trust fund, or she switched it, I think, quickly to account. There was an account, like money came into an account. She's very, very slick, and people don't get it, how slick and fast she is, even at that age, how quickly she adjusted to your questions.
She is very sharp and very precise in her language, good at deflecting things. And if you read her testimony, look at the interviews of her way back in 1963, she was also extremely sharp back then. I mean, she's highly educated. And she even sent a letter to the Warren Commission after the report came out, correcting them on several points, on mistakes they made in a lot of detail. So
well, didn't she FOIA her own files from the intelligence services she claims on one point not to be interested in any conspiracy things, but then her walls are lined with books, and she's also FOIA'd thousands of pages on herself.
Yeah, she had, boxes of files on herself and the JFK case that she got from the FBI, and she passed those on to this guy Joe Alisi,
right,
who was also a JFK memorabilia collector. So
to speak,
he was getting items from Ruth and Michael in those last years of their life. Like, he's got a giant drill press that Oswald supposedly used to drill through a Mexican peso to make a necklace for Marina or something.
Well, let's get into that Mexican mumbo jumbo that she finds in the drawer there mysteriously after Oswald is allegedly supposed to meet Konstantin or Kostikov, which is his real name. The Konstantin letter does not mention Kostikov. So somehow she's gotten the name wrong of who he supposedly met at the Soviet embassy. They are trying to get him to meet Kostikov, but there's no record of him ever being in Mexico City. J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, tells Lyndon Baines Johnson there's an imposter down there, and we've got phony photographs and we've got phony telephone calls. Nothing ever appears. And in fact, the Warren Commission reaches out as they're going to press to the authorities, the FBI and Secret Service, saying, we don't have anything of him being in Mexico City, by the way. And mysteriously, this stuff will appear with the help of one of your subjects, Priscilla Johnson McMillan, Max.
Yeah. So somehow these items, like a Mexican pesos and a Spanish English dictionary and some postcards from Mexico, somehow are discovered in a dresser drawer or a desk or something. And this is, weeks after the assassination, after the house has been searched,
It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. I mean, that house was searched from tip to toe. We're supposed to believe that this memorabilia ends up in a drawer. And somehow they give it to, if I remember correctly, one of the subjects of your documentary, Priscilla Johnson McMillan, who again delivers a book, the same MO, to Marina Oswald at the motel, and in that book shakes out these items.
Yeah, I can't remember all the details at the moment. I'd have to look that one up.
But the fact that she finds this again puts Ruth at the Achilles heel of the assassination, that being Mexico City. Now she is being brought in again to bail out the Oswald's was in Mexico City crew, helping on another area of the storyline, Max.
Yeah, she's so central to all of the main evidence against Oswald. I mean, the rifle, she was central in getting him the job at the book depository.
Right.
And the Walker note and the Costin letter. And she's right
there everywhere. She's in the middle. It's one person is all they need for all of these things. Getting Marina to move in with her, essentially splitting off Oswald into the hands of her husband. Michael Payne in your documentary gets flummoxed as to why he's going to these right-wing and left-wing rallies with this guy. What was your take on his story about him attending these things with Oswald?
Well, Michael Payne in that archival interview, he even says, well, Oswald said that his motivation was he was spying on these groups.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. But what is his motivation? He's just along for the ride.
Well, people suspect that Michael Payne could have been involved in some sort of espionage activity, looking after radical groups on the left and right himself. And of course, there's FBI report of him instigating conversations about communism with students at a local university. And then there were those files taken out of their house, names and addresses of Cuban sympathizers. And of course, he worked for Bell Helicopter, had a secret clearance, and could easily have been involved in doing this anti-subversive work.
And don't forget, his father, as you're well aware, was a fairly well-known Trotskyite in New York. I mean, his dad had an FBI file, I think.
Yeah, his dad was in the security index. He was a very prominent Trotskyist, Lyman Payne.
Lyman Payne, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about Ruth's father, working for USAID, possibly being brought into the CIA fold, according to whatever files were left, sending him to Vietnam to be involved with intelligence there? I mean, her dad has the fingerprints of intelligence all over him, too.
Yeah, William Avery Hyde.
Yeah.
He's a character. I'd love to see some FOIA documents about his career and Ruth's sister's career.
Sylvia Hoke?
Sylvia Hyde Hoke.
Sylvia Hyde.
Hoke. Because all we have are a few tiny, isolated documents that happen to, find their way into the JFK files and be part of the JFK Records Act. There's so much more. You can imagine people had entire careers within the military, intelligence community, State Department. What else were they doing? I'd love to know what Ruth's dad actually did. I'd like to see confirmation on whether he did do direct work for the CIA. There are questions about her sister and what she was doing. She also worked for the Air Force for a time. And there's a researcher, Greg Parker, who...
we've had him on as a guest. Yeah, we know Greg pretty well.
Yeah, there are questions. I'm not sure how well established it is, but, the questions whether Sylvia Hoke could have been working in recruiting people as radar operators, which, of course, was what Oswald was doing at the Atsugi U-2 spy base in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, we got to get these files. I mean, even going back to 1957, the East-West Contact Committee that she's on to bring Soviet pen pals over to here. I mean, my mother didn't do that. My mother lived in Brooklyn. She was a Jewish housewife. But apparently Ruth Payne is involved in so many other things. Like we mentioned, the Nicaragua situation with the Sandinistas. I mean, she's got other jobs, apparently, Max.
Yeah. And even if you think Ruth is entirely innocent and there's no way she was some sort of witting agent, the intelligence community was definitely interested in her activities. Yep. That's no question about that. They were very much interested in this East-West Contacts Committee where they were Quakers were trying to promote understanding and travel. They'd bring like young Russian students over to the U.S. The authorities were all over this as a way to get some information or maybe recruit some spies or whatever. So that group did have a link to the State Department and CIA.
Yeah. I mean, when she sets up the American side of it, she only has one pen pal who's willing to do it. The famous actor William Hootkins, who ends up in Star Wars, the movie, as one of the X-Wing pilots later on. Hootkins becomes a pretty famous actor and a great career, and born and raised in Texas. Will later do stage in England, or actually play Churchill in a play over there. But he's the only one that signs up for her pen pal exchange thing that she's trying to put together, and he's got the fingerprints of intelligence on him as well. William Hootkins. You people can look it up at home if you like.
Yeah, Ruth's only Russian student. He was her one Russian student.
Right. Now it must have been manna from heaven for her when she's handed off Marina Oswald by George de Mohrenschildt, who she also in your documentary, which I urge everyone to buy a copy of so nobody can finagle with it. hard copy. She also dances around the de Mohrenschildt handoff, Max.
Yeah, this is a critical, juncture in leading up to the assassination, where George de Mohrenschildt is really kind of babysitting the Oswalds. He's Oswald's best friend. He and his wife are sort of helping take care of Marina and Lee and showing them the ropes there in Dallas. And then there's a party where they kind of fade to the background, and the Paynes become the Oswald's primary benefactors and protectors.
Well, she claims to have met de Mohrenschildt one time, which is possible. I mean, she didn't have to hang out with the de Mohrenschildts every single week, to make this handoff work, right?
Yeah, she says one time, but it's actually two, at least two, from what I understand. I mean, she may have forgotten, but there was a point where one of these backyard photos with Oswald with the rifle and the gun, these famous photos that make him look like an assassin. One was found in some of the stored items of the Paynes or something that de Mohrenschildt had, or something like that, and they had a meeting. Ruth and de Mohrenschildt had a meeting to talk about that.
And let's not forget Michael Payne's broken Minox spy camera. You want to explain that to the people at home who may not understand what we're referring to?
Oh, that's another one. It's so convoluted. I don't even want to go into too much detail, but it's all you need to know is there was a spy camera, a miniature spy camera called a Minox camera that was found at the Oswald's house. And there were different stories. The authorities said, "Oh, actually, we didn't find that." And then the Paynes actually produced one later.
Yeah.
And said, "Oh, this is the one, you missed this," or something.
Yeah.
And then there are even questions of rolls of film that were developed from that camera. I know A.J. Weberman has worked on this, and he claims there are photos of Jerry Hemming or something.
Oh, that I didn't know. I know there was some military, some different shots of Minsk on Oswald's camera, which would make sense. He was probably given his before he went over there, but it was a common camera to give out to in the spy world.
Yeah, either way, it's suspicious whether it's Michael Payne's camera or Oswald's.
Right. Well, what I'm saying was there was two cameras, and that was fairly well delineated. And Detective Rose, who ends up in by the way, in Thin Blue Line, the Errol Morris documentary, I'm sure you've seen. That guy was the one who said that there was a second spy camera, and he wouldn't buckle, despite pressure from Dallas police. Detective Rose never buckled on the second spy camera.
Expensive too.
At the time, I think so. I think they might have been very expensive. Although Jack Ruby ends up with one when he's at a parade in Dallas, and he's one of his bands are playing on a platform. He's got a Minox camera, Jack Ruby.
Yeah, there's video of him.
There's video of it. That might have been the iPhone 12 of its day, Eric.
Yeah. It could be, but it just seemed like they were very, very expensive for a piece of hardware, especially for like Oswald, who was on his ass, broke in a boarding house, whatever else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was always the story, that Oswald was dead broke. He was going from one shitty job to the next, and how could he afford to go to Russia or have some of this expensive camera equipment? Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, when you were interviewing her, did she ever shut you down on anything or shut down on anything?
Good question. I don't think she ever shut me down cold and just said, "I don't want to talk about that." If it was probably about something more personal than something associated with the assassination.
But she never stopped an interview at any point, or?
No, I was worried she was going to stop the final interview and walk off, or say, I've heard enough. I'm done. But she barely got flustered. If you'll see in the film, just a little bit at the end there, she gets a tiny bit flustered, and she then collected herself, and she was totally civil, and she even let me shoot some more B-roll after that interview where I had been hitting her with the most, damning questions, the most accusatory stuff.
Fencing with you? Yeah. Was she fencing with you in a way, like verbally? Did you ever feel like that, or did you feel like no, she was just answering questions?
Yeah, I felt like she's very aware of her language, and putting things in a way where she gives herself an out, or speaks in a sort of lawyerly way where there are very few times, I can't even remember the exact ones, but there's nothing that really stands out where you can say she's lying about this. It would always be like, well, maybe she forgot about that, or she put it in terms where it could be interpreted a different way, or she just said, that wasn't exactly what happened.
I got on that same note, was talking with Larry Schnapp the other day from Mary Farrell, who's interacting with Congresswoman Luna. And he felt that Ruth Payne was lying about Oliver Stone not contacting her for the movie and then changing her name to Williams. I thought she was telling the truth. And in fact, Oliver told me personally that he regretted ever changing the name to Williams, and that it was the lawyers vetting his own script at Warner Brothers who forced him to do that. There was, according to Oliver, no interaction with her. And I don't know why Larry Schnapp is so hot to trot on this.
She contacted the lawyers, though, Mark. Like she might not have talked to Stone, but if she knew that it was going on.
No way. No way is that somebody in an Oliver Stone film reaching out to Warner Brothers attorneys. There is just no way. They vetted that script like they always do for any biopic, and he regrets ever changing the name because he said to me he wished, in retrospect, that she had sued him so he could get documents and discovery from her. He regretted ever doing it. I don't think she was lying there, Max.
Yeah, I've heard different versions of that. I think Jim DiEugenio said the same thing. That
okay.
Or he said, I think he might have said that they did reach out to her. But who knows? I mean, I don't think every example here is somebody lying. That people do forget things, and she was elderly. She may have forgot.
Well, I don't know how elderly she was in 1990.
60.
Yeah, she was a young chicken then. Yeah. And it's funny because the Williams name ends up being in other JFK related movies. They just said, well, we'll call her Williams, just like these guys did in JFK. She's named Williams in another TV. I forgot which one it was, but the same name is used for her in another TV JFK film.
Yeah, Bill and Janet Williams.
Bill and Janet Williams. But it's also great, the footage you have of Jerry Spence, who passed away recently, which we mentioned on the show, of his cross-examination of her in the TV mock trial of Lee Harvey Oswald. That was interesting.
Yeah, I had wanted to reach out to Jerry Spence at some point. I think I might have, but never heard back, because I wanted to hear what it was like to go up against Ruth Payne on the witness stand.
To go up against Bugliosi, who wrote the largest JFK book in the history of the world. And
yet, Jerry Spence lost that case.
Right.
that made for TV trial.
Well, that's the only case he ever lost, so it is kind of a big deal. Now, it was made for TV, but I mean, his criminal record, he never lost a criminal case, and he didn't lose a civil case since the late 60s. So it was significant.
Well, she did take it seriously. You could tell that it looks like she's into it, Max.
Yeah, I mean, they put that together like a real trial. They brought in all the real witnesses. They flew them to England, I think.
Yeah,
and They brought in a real judge. Everything looks pretty legit.
Well, Spence didn't have much time to work on it, as you pointed out in your documentary.
Now, Mark Shaw might have been better. I think Mark, you've suggested.
Mark Shaw?
Weren't you saying? What am I thinking?
No, Mark Lane.
Sorry, Mark Lane. Sorry,
Mark Shaw. No, I would never suggest that.
No, Mark Lane. But Mark Lane might have been a stronger.
It was simply because he was aware of the material. Yeah, I mean, Spence is coming in not really knowing the genre.
Yeah.
What frustrates you about the documentary? Like, do you feel like there's something that you were trying to get and you were never really able to get a hold of?
I wasn't expecting a deathbed confession or Ruth to break down and tell me the truth or anything. I wish she had opened up a little more personally. Like she sings. She sings like, or she used to sing madrigals, and I think she did folk dancing and all this stuff. And I wanted to film more of her, like her actual life.
Well, she said that's why she hooked up with Michael Payne originally, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think she kept that real separate, the assassination and her personal life. But yeah, I did the best I could. Maybe I could have asked some question. People have sometimes, approached me and said, well, why didn't you ask her about this? This would have finally put her on the spot. And I just think, she was able to deflect or, avoid almost any question.
Yeah.
Whether it was like a direct evidence that she was being dishonest, she would, have an answer to it.
Well, were you a researcher before the film? I mean, did you get into JFK because of this film, or were you already a JFK researcher beforehand?
I had read several books. I don't know if I would call myself a researcher, but I had an interest in this genre and hidden history. So yeah, I had some background.
What made you choose her as your as a subject?
Well, I felt like she was a nice window into the assassination. That she personalizes the story and the controversy and the question of whether you think there's a conspiracy. It's all focused on this one person instead of this gigantic case where you could spend the rest of your life researching it. Here we like narrow it down a little bit to this one person, and the fact that she was still alive and she lived near me, so I was able to go interview her. It seemed like somebody had to explore this story before she died, and sure. I'm glad I was able to do that. And I think it actually shows more respect for her to do this story honestly than to do one of these fake pieces on her where you don't even acknowledge that there are all these questions about her. Yeah.
What did you expect going into it, and what was the outcome? Was it what you expected, or if not, how was it different?
Well, I guess maybe I hoped for some more closure, like maybe something to be clearer, or some more documents to come out or something. And I found myself, even to this day, still debating in my mind, like, what, should she in some sort of denial, or what scale of involvement could she have? Was she witting, unwitting? What were her motivations? So a lot of that stuff is still unclear to me. But I like to point out that everything I saw convinced me that she was withholding important information. And I think she was one of the main defenders of the official story for 60 years.
Yeah.
She was out there doing that as one of the main witnesses and people giving interviews in the media. And she was very convincing.
I mean, 5,000 questions by the Warren Commission alone, right, Max?
Yeah, she was interviewed more extensively than any other witness. So
why would she be the star witness of the Warren Commission based on her place, by her own estimate of her place in history? Why would she get 5,000 questions?
It's a good question.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I mean, it's absurd.
Well, she was pretty important, but to be that much more important than other witnesses, you got to wonder. I've seen some comparisons to, like, how many questions they asked certain other witnesses who would have, I
think that the next one was like 300 questions is the next level.
Yeah. There were people they, barely even talked to, people, autopsy doctors and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, she was, she knew the Oswalds intimately in the months leading up to the assassination, and she could tell that story in the way that the Warren Commission wanted to tell it.
But is she hard to pin down? I mean, could that be why there were so many questions? Because she's kind of, you've mentioned it, or she's difficult to pin down directly, so you might take more questions to get somewhere.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Some of that testimony she gave is excruciating in the like detail and like
minutia.
Tangential stuff they're talking about. So yeah, she remains an enigma in some ways. I think she'll be an intriguing character for history. I hope we get more documents, but I think, yeah, for most people, they come down clearly on one side or the other.
Well, there's another. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's either you trust her completely or you don't.
Right. There's another sub-documentary rolling through your documentary, and it's a sub-documentary of Priscilla Johnson McMillan, which I think you could have made a separate documentary just on McMillan, Max, right?
Sure. She was a very fascinating character who was linked to the CIA. She applied to work for them. She had many contacts with them over the years. And then she just happens to be the person who becomes best friends with Marina Oswald after the assassination.
Right.
And gets to, basically control Marina Oswald, live with her at some point, and
for years,
and write her memoirs, this book, Marina and Lee, which is, completely supporting the official story, and a lot of which people, suspect was actually fictionalized and dramatized in some ways.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you also point out that she's brought in to write the memoir of Khrushchev's defecting daughter. And she does that as well, putting her up in her own house.
Yeah, she claims it was she didn't know at the time, but that was a CIA operation. So,
not to mention that she's the first person to interview Oswald in the hotel in Moscow. That's
right. What are the chances?
What are the chances that after your film in 2022, when after it comes out, we now learn that she interned for JFK?
Yeah, we knew that at the time. She interned for JFK, and she interviews Oswald in Russia, and then she becomes Marina Oswald's best friend for a long period of time.
You could have made a documentary of equal power if you just had focused, in my opinion, focused your life on Priscilla Johnson McMillan.
Yeah, and even her husband. There's some questions about him. He wrote a book about the Martin Luther King assassination,
right.
Basically trying to defend the official story.
Yeah, she basically confesses to you that she's CIA. My takeaway from the McMillan interviews that you have, she steps on her own story. She's kind of caught off guard, and then she basically agrees with you.
Yeah, she was fun. She was fun to interview. I think.
Dude, tell me about that, because I followed this chick's career my whole life. I have followed her from day one. I have been addicted to her storyline for many, many years. I would have loved to have been there. I felt envy towards you having her like in a fly trap over there.
Yeah, I think she got kind of excited that I actually knew some of this stuff. It was entertaining to her to have to deal with, antagonistic interviewer. I mean, at least somebody who's going to challenge her a little bit, not softball all the questions to this sweet old elderly, woman. She lived there in right near Harvard. She worked at Harvard. She went to Harvard,
right.
She was, she was very, influential in her own way.
Yeah, I mean, she is the pinnacle of Operation Mockingbird. If anybody wants to see based on the 1977 article in Rolling Stone by Carl Bernstein, this woman is, I mean, you're talking about articles, book deals, interviewing Oswald, working for JFK, befriending Marina. She is the queen of Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah, it does seem like that. And she's another person who passed away in the years since the film. So we've lost Vince Salandria, David Lifton, Ruth Paine, Michael Paine, Priscilla Johnson McMillan, and there might even be another one.
Well, there's two principals left as far as I can see. One of them that you've spoken to, that's Marina Oswald, and the other one is Buell Wesley Frazier, who is still putting out a memoir a couple of years ago in Dallas. Tell us about your, I don't know if you had any experience with Frazier, but tell us about your experience with Marina.
Well, I was trying to get in contact with Marina, like everybody who does a documentary on this topic does. And eventually somebody gave me her phone number. I had tried to write letters through an acquaintance. She never replied. But I got her phone number, and in the film, you'll see I call her, and she actually answers the phone. And she spoke to me for a while. She was very, very polite, open. She just said she didn't want to be involved, and she told me not to waste my life on the assassination. And she said that the truth will never come out. It's too late, which is a sad thing to hear.
Did she sound defeated, or how was her English, by the way?
Her English was fine. Yeah.
I've heard that.
She sounded resigned. I mean, I think she's, she just wants to live her life. There was a period in like the late 80s, 90s where she was out there giving interviews and pushing for the truth and saying, I think my husband was innocent, but the media didn't treat her so well, and people kept hounding her, and she was probably fearful in some ways. That's from what I understand.
You could see it in, I think it was either Tom Brokaw or Jennings interviewing her so harshly. Some of that footage, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's really insulting. They just treat her with no respect. And she's 84 now. I hope, I hope Ruth Paine left us maybe some written document or something that will be released with her more details on her story.
Wow.
And
yeah, that would be great.
I hope Marina Oswald, before she passes, she's willing to come forward and talk. Maybe at the hearings, maybe in front of Congress, if they promise her immunity on it, if she was forced to lie about anything in the past, she shouldn't be held responsible. We should get the full truth.
Well, she could discuss the threats that were quite clearly made to her of deportation and them taking her kids. I mean, that's been fairly well established. She could discuss that in terms of her immunity.
Yeah, she could tell us more about the Walker shooting. She could tell us about Ruth Payne and her relationship with Priscilla Johnson McMillan.
Yeah.
Tell us what's fact and what's fiction.
She knows so much that we're not privy to at this point that could straighten out the record. One person knows more than anybody else on what really transpired in terms of her lying or telling the truth about fill in the blank factual parts of these stories.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame her for any
no, absolutely not.
She made in the past. They were leaning on her
heavy,
really heavy. And I think Priscilla Johnson McMillan might have convinced her, like, oh, let's just dramatize some of these things in the book, and it'll sell better or something.
Well, the money. Go ahead.
I was going to say, did McMillan kind of take over for Payne or for Ruth Payne? Because it seems like Ruth Payne, up till the assassination, was almost handling her, or had Marina under her wings, and then after the assassination, now McMillan moves in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some other people.
It goes from Mohrenschildt to Ruth Payne to Johnson McMillan.
Yeah, and I think some of the Marina's romantic interests also, there's some questions about them.
Oh, Porter was definitely a spook. I mean, he was tied into Collins radio, for Christ's sakes. He was also a handler at that point. He rides up on a white horse. I mean, it's like out of a movie, Max, And he smacked her around. She tried to get divorced from him. They went to court a couple of times. He was abusing her. Who knows for what purpose he was physically abusing her.
Have you reached out to her again? I'm just wondering, and not in necessarily an interview, but even to suggest, hey, maybe talk to Congress or Luna or the people.
I haven't personally. I know there are people in the JFK research community who know her much better than I do. So I'm assuming that they have reached out to her. But
they're trying to focus on the daughters now, Max. One or two of the daughters to pick up the mantle, because there's no statute of limitations on murder, and it would take a family member to really reopen the case regarding that murder of their father, and other areas of the assassination. One of the two daughters could do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've heard the daughters have some suspicions.
Yeah.
One of the daughters actually was friendly with Priscilla Johnson McMillan and went to her house. Priscilla told me the story. Marina's daughter came and stayed with her.
Wow.
And was going through Priscilla's papers because she wanted some proof that Priscilla was setting up Oswald, or
Wow.
Have you talked to the daughters?
No, I have not reached out to the daughters. Yeah.
So, what was your take on Priscilla McMillan? I mean, in relationship to the same ability of Ruth Payne. I mean, how would you rate her? If Payne is a 10, where does McMillan rank on the spook verbal acuity scale?
Yeah, I think she's a little less slick than Ruth.
Yeah,
I think Ruth might have her beat.
It's funny when you had those women sitting around the table with Ruth and she's asking them about their belief in conspiracy, and the woman is sitting next to her who believes it's quite possible. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Some of those people at the Quaker retirement home.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they were going to say they were going to agree with her, but she did not.
Was that a pattern with her? You mentioned earlier about Walker and her having a gateway question, and you specifically said the word gateway question. Did Ruth do that a lot, where she would ask you a question like, "What do you know?" or whatever to feel you out?
Sometimes she would ask what I thought about something. In some ways I was glad I was a little naive going into it. So I could just say, honestly, I'm learning. I don't know yet, or
it's a good angle.
This is what I understand.
Okay. On a 1 to 10 scale, when you went in there, where you were on the conspiracy scale, where were you coming in and where were you coming out on a scale of 1 to 10, Max, after and before?
Well,
I mean, were you a 3 coming in and then a 9 going out, or a 0 and then a 6?
The reverse?
Or the reverse? I don't even know.
Maybe you think Oswald did it and he's a lone nutter. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where I was to start exactly. I tried to have an open mind, when making a documentary and looking at somebody's life. I tried to have an open mind. But I think it's just undeniable that the evidence points towards a conspiracy. It's just anybody who's studied it honestly and seriously will come to that conclusion.
Yeah, you have Posner in there. He's well noted for being, carrying the Bugliosi mantle or whatever you want. How was he, and did he try to influence you in any way, shape, or form? What was that about?
He didn't try to influence me, but I probably didn't let on how much I was going down the conspiracy path. I just wanted to get his perspective,
right?
And I'm glad I did. He's got some good lines in the movie.
Yeah.
But
was
obviously,
it the same with Max Holland, Max? I mean, did you treated him the same way?
Yeah, pretty much. He's another guy who he won an award from the CIA for his article about the assassination. So which
you kind of box him in also, just like you do with McMillan, Max.
Yeah, well, he kind of smirked about it. You could tell he's basically admitting there that his work is not believable at all. I mean, he's got these oddball theories about the assassination that all support the official story, and it's just kind of ridiculous.
Well, for people at home, when he's being interviewed by Max, two Maxes interviewing each other, he says that he got an award for this one article from the CIA for $1,000. He was paid for this particular article. I don't know how forthcoming he was, because it turns out that Max Holland actually ran CIA.gov for a while as the website administrator.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I know. That's why I'm saying it.
Jeez. Wow.
Who surprised you, Max? I mean, out of everybody you interviewed, was there anyone who surprised you and gave you a piece of information or anything? Just.
Well, the person who's blurred out in the film, anonymous interview, he surprised me with some direct evidence that he had. Max Holland surprised me when he pulled out the Mannlicher Carcano rifle that
was weird.
He has and swung it around the room and pointed it at me.
Yeah, that was awkward.
Yeah, I mean, Vince Salandria is, definitely one of my favorites. He's just so glad that I was able to get him on film, and he wrote an entire statement. It's online now. The role of the Paynes in history.
Oh,
he wrote that for the film and read the whole statement on camera. And I was just glad to be able to capture some of him before
also,
he passed
the
away.
best evidence author is probably his last interview as well.
Could be David Lifton.
David Lifton, yeah. I don't. Maybe there's some after that. I don't know, but that was one of the last ones I've ever seen of David Lifton, who passed away.
Yeah, Peter Dale Scott is still going strong. I saw him a few weeks ago at a little conference in San Francisco.
And Bill Simpich will be with us, not with us, but he'll be at the Lancer Conference this coming November 22nd. I saw on the roster of people attending. I don't know if you're going to come down, Max.
Yeah, are you going to be in that, Max?
I'm not sure. I'm always surprised when it's November coming around again already.
I know, me too.
Maybe, yeah, we'll see.
Actually, well, we probably should be plugging that right now.
Yeah, let's let the audience see this.
Let's talk up at this conference thing we're talking about here.
Because we ran into Max at the last one a couple of years ago.
Yes, we did.
Down there in Dallas. This one is, when is this, Eric?
This conference is November 21st through the 23rd this year at the Fairmount, Dallas. You can get tickets right here. You can point your phone at your TV, your computer, wherever you are. Click in the description. It'll take you right to the site. Use the code Untold10 to save 10%. And there are different options. If you want to come, which I recommend, because then you get to meet people like us and see a bunch of people here who will be there. There's a lot of names in a very saturated environment where you get to meet all the different people. But if you can't, there's also a virtual ticket. I'd recommend getting both and the buffet. And the reason why I always recommend the virtual ticket or a downloadable ticket is you might get busy. You might say, you know what, I want to run over and go see something. And you don't get a chance to see a session. You can always watch it later, or you don't have to worry about taking notes while you're there. It's like, oh, wait, what did they say? What did they say? You can always play it back and then really get into the environment and feel it at the time. So that would be, I think, the best way to go. I'm hoping that Max shows up. I know he was.
Yeah, Max, it would be great. We're doing a history of political cinema in Hollywood, political assassination cinema. Specifically, we're going to take apart Hollywood films post the JFK assassination. I'm sure you're aware of most of them, and examine the political assassination films through a Hollywood lens.
Great. Parallax view. Of
course.
Oh yeah. That's a definite one. Speaking of films, Max, what's next? Are you going to be doing any more with the JFK assassination, or are you on to other things? Where are you going with all this now?
Yeah, I've been on to some other things the last few years, but I do have a JFK idea that I might be working on.
Right on.
It's the never-ending, fascination with this topic.
Welcome to the rabbit hole, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, I could take a little break and then come back to it. But it's not going away, and I think more and more younger people are getting interested in this through programs like yours. So that's great.
Have you been getting more into it as you did this film, and going around to the different conferences and looking at different things? Has that kind of whetted your appetite to dig into more stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes get burnt out on reading JFK assassination books and looking at documents and research. It can get old, but I always find myself coming back to it. So
what's your biggest question out of what you've covered with Ruth and all that? What is your just biggest burning question? You're like, damn it, if I could have just asked her this one thing.
Well, I did ask her if she had ever had done any work for the CIA or FBI. Or,
that was great. That was a great question.
And she kind of quickly laughs and says no or something.
Well, there is a pause there, Max. If I remember, she does freeze up when you asked her that directly. It kind of caught her off guard, but then she pauses for a long time, cinema-wise, and then says no.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Yeah, that was fascinating. I mean, just that clip alone should have been in the trailer. Just the opening part of the trailer. I would have. That's just me, but you got your own style. I would have put that in the head of the trailer. But I want to thank Max for coming by again. We've had him for a number of hours here, so I just wanted to give Max a chance to get out of here, and I wanted to thank him. I wanted people to buy the DVD. If you can't buy the DVD, at least stream it on Amazon Prime. I think it's only a couple of bucks. You will be riveted to this movie. I'm telling you, people, you will not stop watching this. And if you buy it, you can let your kids and grandchildren inherit it from you and stop the forces of evil from editing different products whenever they feel like it. Max Good made an incredible film, which I highly recommend. It from 2022, holds up beautifully, except the protagonist is now passed on to the afterlife, but according to her son, she may be back in a different form at some point, at which point Max can make Assassination Mrs. Payne Part 2. But Max, thank you so much for coming on today. Really fantastic for our audience to have you back again. I think this is the second or third time, right, Eric?
Yeah. So you've been on the show and we've talked to you in person. I'm sure we'll talk to you in person again. I have some footage. I'm trying to do something with Max at some point. I don't know if that'll ever happen too, but definitely great to have you folks. There's a link in the description and the site is jfkpaine.com. I just know that from memory, but if you go there, that'll tell you, hey, it's on Prime, but it also gives you an option where you can buy a physical copy on there. I don't know, Max, do you sign it for people or anything if they get?
Well, no, Max, is there a director's? Do you have a director's voiceover on it, or?
No, I have not done a director's commentary. I'd love to. Maybe I'll do that at some point.
Dude, that would be. Awesome. I would love to have that with your commentary on, bro.
Yeah,
I would make that your number one treat for the fans. That would be fantastic, Max.
Yeah, I do want to mention that I have a Patreon page. Just under my name, Max Good. And up there, I have the full interviews with Ruth and a bunch of the other characters. So if you are, intrigued and you want to see more, there's a ton of content up on my Patreon, including the whole film. You can get it as part of your subscription on there.
That's
all right. Thank you. And where can they follow you? Are you on Facebook or Instagram or are you on X?
JFK Paine on X, I believe.
Yeah, I'm at JFK Paine on X, and I do have a Facebook page, but most of my stuff is either on Twitter or Patreon.
Okay, Max, thank you for putting up with us today. Really, appreciate it. Max, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Great to be on.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man. Thank you.
Bye.
See you. All right. So we'll go through a couple of super chats. We'll head over to locals and wrap up here. We've got Hugh Chasol. We needed Mark to do a program, the Ruth voice. Okay. That was a little hard for me to read. I'm guessing somebody wants you to speak like Ruth Payne. I don't know if you'll perform today or not.
She's dead. Have you no decency? She's dead.
Rick Thornhill is saying, great show, heading over to Amazon after the broadcast. Definitely do check it out. It is a great documentary. You really did a solid job.
You should buy it. I'm telling you, buy it.
Yep. And get the physical copy. And Robert Belt. So apparently, Ruth didn't live the Quaker life. No dance.
I don't know. Quakers can dance, I think. I don't think that. I think you might be talking about a different group. I think the Quakers are allowed to dance, but I'm no religious expert.
Yeah, I think that's Baptists.
Yeah, I think you're talking about somebody else. Quakers condemned.
But I am definitely not an expert in.
Yeah, she also worshipped. One of her hobbies was David Attenborough documentaries. She was addicted to those.
Okay, well, there you go.
I'm saying it's one of her hobbies.
All right, well, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Consider checking out the JFK Lancer Conference. Again, there's a link in the description. We are going to be heading over to locals. I think you guys know the drill. It is free if you would like to join locals, but you can also pay and support. And there's added material and everything there. And we will see you over there momentarily.
Okay.